Joined by Ben Griffin today. Is a strength and conditioning coach in Canberra. So tell me, Ben, give us a bit of an overview of who you are and what you do, essentially.
First of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So in regards to myself, so as you said, I am a strength and conditioning coach based in Canberra. So I work in the private sector. I have a background in exercise physiology. So I studied exercise physiology at university. Then once I finished uni, I worked as an EP for a while. I kind of always wanted to do strength and conditioning. So I worked as an EP for a while. Then eventually when I kind of mustered up the courage, I guess, to transition over into S&C, then I went and spent a little bit of time in America, did an internship over there with a college football team. Then I came back and started working in the private sector as a strength and conditioning coach. And I've been doing that ever since.
Awesome. Good stuff. So you work with, do you work with mainly like athletes or general population or what sort of age brackets, or is it a bit of a mix or?
Everything and everyone. So I have a good mix of clients. I don't just work with athletes. I definitely work with a lot of general pop clients, which is really fun. It's just kind of the athlete stuff is just kind of what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. So, and you've been doing a lot of stuff on social media. I've seen, did you only start that recently, sort of like relatively recently with your?
Yeah. Last couple of years.
Yeah, because I think I saw some of your earlier stuff, and I started to see it pop up a bit more in my feed. I sort of you just kept sort of putting it out there, and you were very consistent with it, and I really sort of I really liked that. And that was how have you found the social media side of things?
It's something that I guess when I first started, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Yeah. When I decided to work in the private sector, I realized you have to kind of put yourself out there and promote yourself a little bit, or else nothing's going to happen. No one's going to know who you are. No one's going to know what you do. No one's going to know what you do. So I kind of see it as that. I just use it as a way to put myself out there and obviously provide value to others as well. It's kind of fun because you kind of help people with the stuff you do. But I found it to be really good. The more I've got involved with it, the more it's kind of the stuff I do has evolved over time. The more confident I've become with it is a big thing. And then you kind of just, you start to enjoy it more and more, I think.
Yeah, and definitely. I enjoy it as well. And I think that the consistency is really important too. So I've seen that you're posting every day, multiple times a day sort of thing. Is that sort of something that you've made an effort to do, or is it sort of just as you go along, or you don't really have any strategy? Or?
No, I definitely I'm a very organized person. Yeah. So I definitely have it planned, like factored into my day that I'm going to do these specific things on social media. Yep. What those specific, like I'll have it factored in that I'm going to do kind of like this many posts on Instagram or something like that. What those posts might be will kind of vary day to day, obviously. But in terms of like regularity of posting across different platforms, I have it planned out so that I'm kind of consistent with it. And it's just a habit more than anything now.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm still learning along the way as well. It's it definitely creates a lot of opportunities as well. I think just by putting yourself out there, even if you don't have a goal with it, I think just by putting yourself out there and being consistent with it, it just opens doors, and you make connections. Like obviously, I'm talking to you now just because of social media. So it's exactly how it works. So
that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so just a bit as far as strength and conditioning in particular, because I do a bit of coaching myself as well. I sort of do half podiatry and half coaching. But you're an all-out strength and conditioning coach. Why is strength and sort of athletic development, why is that so important? Can you answer that?
From a very general sort of viewpoint, I guess, athletes can get away with, so obviously athletes can get away with playing their sport without doing any strength training in particular. But it just adds so much. It's something that, particularly from an injury prevention standpoint, is possibly the one that athletes kind of underestimate the value of with strength training the most. So having your body, strength is essentially resilience, right? So the stronger your body is, the more resilient it is. Keeps you on the field. The stronger you are, the less likely you are, to get injured. the more time you're going to spend on the field. And then as well as that, obviously the flip side of that is the performance enhancement side of it as well. Being stronger, more powerful is just going to help you with your sport, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And from personal experience, that's why I got into it as well, is through my injuries that I had when I was younger. Were you the same? Did you have lots of injuries playing footy and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I was pretty lucky, to be honest. I didn't have any really major kind of serious injuries. But to what kind of got me into strength conditioning when I was younger, I was never kind of the greatest athlete, but I was kind of always looking for ways to kind of level out the playing field between me and the guys that were better than me. And that was how I kind of found strength and conditioning. I realized that if I was as strong as I possibly could be, and if I was as fit as I possibly could be, I could I could lessen that gap between me and those better players through the use of strength and conditioning. And that was kind of how I fell in love with it through that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it's really important for that injury prevention side of things as well. Like obviously it's important to, it's impossible to fully prevent injuries, but if you can reduce that risk as much as you can, and then you have it in performance benefits as well. Like ever since I started getting into strength and conditioning myself and doing proper training myself, like from the age of like 19, 20, like really late, I haven't had as many injuries. I haven't had an injury at all, touch wood, really. And I'm feeling a lot fitter, faster, stronger. So definitely it's really, really important from a young age too. Do you work with young athletes?
So I work with a couple of late teens, as opposed to kind of younger athletes. But yeah, which is really cool actually. Working with those sort of teenage athletes is awesome because you kind of get them when they're pretty raw.
Yep.
They don't have a lot of the preconceptions about training, and they don't have a lot of the bad habits that some of your older athletes might have built into them. So if you can get them younger, it's actually really cool because you can kind of lay that foundation and set them up for then hopefully the rest of their athletic career.
Definitely. And so would you then agree that strength training is really important for junior athletes and it's not bad as a lot of people still think it is?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's nothing wrong with it. Like it's been proven like a lot of times now that there's no downside to younger athletes doing strength training. That's been well documented. And I think it's just about being smart about it as well. Like you're not going to max out 12-year-old kids on lifts or things like that. So it's just kind of common sense, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any like sort of big principles or anything like that you follow as a coach? Or with your athletes when you're trying to get results with them, like do you have any big sort of concepts that you apply to everyone?
To be honest, so other than obviously your basic type things, obviously your progressive overload, specificity, individuality, aside from obviously all those basic ones, on top of that, my overarching principle is pretty simple. I kind of look at it from the point of view first step is just kind of to build a solid foundation of strength just across your basic movement patterns. So your squats, hinges, your pushes, your pulls. Then kind of the next step in that process is then to teach the athletes to express that strength quickly. So that's where we're going to build in your sprints, jumps, throws, ollie lifts, those types of things. So to be honest, it's just a really, really simple philosophy, and the whole all my programs just kind of get built around those basic movement patterns. Then you kind of sprinkle the other stuff on top at the start of the sessions and at the end of the sessions. But it's all just built around those basic movement patterns.
Definitely. So you lay like a bit of a foundation depending on their training age and where they're at as far as their capacity, and then you build from there. And keeping it sort of simple and basic, not trying to get too fancy with what you're doing in the gym.
Yeah, definitely. It's just all about keeping it simple, like nailing those basics and just getting, when you talk about building that foundation, getting really strong on those basic lifts.
Yeah.
And then you pretty much, go from there. And it's pretty much it, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And I've actually working with rehab clients in the gym as a podiatrist, I've actually had a big shift, a gradual shift towards, I basically just do step up squats, hinges, maybe calf raises is the other one that I'd focus on. But, those bigger sort of lifts, I don't muck around too much with any isolated exercises anymore. And on it to be honest, I'm getting better results as a result. So. Do you work with any, or do you have much to do with any like physios or podiatrists or any other allied health sort of connections?
So we're pretty lucky. So the gym I work for in Canberra, we do have a good relationship with a couple of different massage places and physio places and stuff like that in Canberra. So we do often get referrals from these places.
Yeah.
The actual relationship with the practitioners could probably be better. We probably don't pass as much information between each other as we should, but they will often refer people on to us. They'll get to a point where they're kind of like, the physios might be like, okay, there's not really much more we can do, but you need to keep training. So then they'll kind of send them along to us. So we do get a bit of that.
Yeah, definitely. So, so obviously it's really important that everyone's on the same page. And as far as the, physio or the podiatrist and the S&C coach and the athlete all working together. So at what point do you think that it's good for like a physio or a podiatrist to refer to a strength and conditioning coach, and why is it important? Like, is there a particular point in a sort of rehab plan, or when is the athlete ready to start training with you guys?
I think it's hard to give a set kind of, I think it's not black and white. I think it kind of depends on the individual person and what their injury is and those types of things. So I think it is a little bit of a judgment call from the podiatrist or the physio or whoever's doing that initial kind of treatment. But I think it's very important for them to refer them on and keep building their strength, keep building on what the physio or the podiatrist or whoever's treating them initially has done. Because you see it so often, say athletes in particular, they'll get injured. Something like a hamstring injury is a good one. They'll get injured, go see a physio, do their treatment, start running and playing again. Then they hurt their hamstring again 4 weeks later or something. Yeah. And it's just because all they've done is go and see the physio, do that little bit of work with the physio, then done nothing else. So they should be trying to aim to come back kind of bigger, faster, and stronger than they were pre-injury.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's you got to break that wheel, I guess, that injury cycle that athletes go through. Yeah. And then S&C is probably the biggest way to do that, in my opinion. So, what is there any way that perhaps podiatrists or physios could work better with S&C coaches? Like, what's the key there to strengthening that relationship and getting the best outcomes for our athletes?
I think it's hard to have, if you're not in the same building, it's very hard to have a completely integrated approach. Yeah. But I think it's just about developing those relationships so that your podiatrists, your physios feel comfortable enough to refer on to strength and conditioning coaches, and that everyone knows what the process is, so that your podiatrists and physios, et cetera, know, okay, once I get them to about this point where I can't really do anything more with them, that's when I refer them on to the S&C coach. Obviously, if you're in the private sector, whether or not they go and see the S&C coach is up to the client. But I feel like that recommendation should at least be there.
Yeah, definitely. So communication across all parties, again, that's the key. Like, that's how you get the best out of your athletes, is by communicating with them and building good relationships. So if you've got that between professions as well, then it's going to have the best outcome for everyone involved. So really good stuff, mate. That's about all I had for you. Where can people get in touch with you, and or do you have any sort of your social media? Obviously, like, how can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about what's your business called again, or the gym you're at?
Oh, so the gym I work at. So I'm actually the manager as well as a coach at RealFITT Strength and Conditioning.
Yep.
In Canberra.
Yep. Awesome. So how can
and then in terms of kind of getting in touch. Yeah, so on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, that type of stuff, Twitter as well. My handle is just Coach Griffin 88. Yep. Then LinkedIn, just Ben Griffin. Or if anyone's really that interested, they can email me, ben@realfitt.com.au.
Yep. Awesome. Good stuff, mate. Well, thanks heaps for that. Appreciate your time today. And I'll get this out there maybe this afternoon. Cheers.
No worries, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on.
That's all right.